Burns Vaughan here, the Operating System Genie. In this video, I'm just going to explain to you whether 30% GPU usage is good and basically everything you need to know about it. So me personally, I've been working on computers for quite some time. I would consider myself a very experienced gamer. Played more than my fair share of games. And also I've done a ton of research into hardware components and things like that. So I'm just going to explain to you all the research I've done into it. So as you all know, when you open up the task manager, it'll tell you what your GPU usage percentage is. So that's shown in this category here. So you just click here, and then under, where did they put it? GPU here. So even the other thing I will point out that is quite important to know is that all computers have a graphics card or GPU. So you're probably aware that you can buy graphics cards separately, right? So you can buy whereas others, like you'd buy a whole pre-built computer like a laptop or a desktop computer, and the specifications of the graphics card are noted on the box. So the difference when you buy it separately is those are usually much higher powered as a general rule, and they're called a dedicated graphics card. Whereas if you buy a whole computer other than like a computer that's specifically designed for gaming, it will have what's called an integrated graphics card, which is built into the motherboard. So that's just a really important distinction you need to be aware of when it comes to troubleshooting your graphics card. But in general, I just need to cover a few things to actually answer the question completely. But the long and short of it is, if you're using your computer for just doing Word documents, simple things like that, anything other than like watching video or doing gaming, then 30% GPU usage is perfectly fine. Whereas if you are doing gaming or watching videos or movies and things using your computer, then it does indicate a problem. And the reason that is to do with what the graphics card actually does. So the graphics card, what it does is it takes the information that your computer is processing it, and it converts it into basically pixels on the screen. So it's taking the information that your computer is processing and then figuring out what to show on the screen. So you'll be aware that all screens have pixels, so you can't really see it, but each of these is tiny little dots that need to be placed by your computer onto the screen. So when you're doing gaming and movies and things like that, there's a lot of movement on the screen, and that uses a lot of the GPU's processing power. Whereas just doing like a simple Word document or something like this, there's not a lot of movement, so the GPU is not doing a lot of processing, and therefore it shouldn't be at a high percent of utilization. So if it is low, the GPU, the way you'll notice that is when you're looking at your GPU usage percentage. So as you can see, mine is about 20% utilization, and it has its own memory and things like this. Whereas when I'm gaming or watching a movie or something, it'll be right up really high. So if you are doing that and it's low, what that means is your CPU, so your processor, is it's a bit too slow. So what the CPU does is it sends the information to the GPU, and if the GPU is far more powerful than your CPU, the CPU won't be able to send enough information to utilize all of the GPU's percentage, basically. It's usually not a problem unless you are getting significant lag when you're playing games or watching movies. That means that you will need to fix that problem. You don't need to upgrade your GPU. What you need to upgrade is your CPU, right? But computer manufacturers, when they make computers, like whole pre-built computers, they match up the specifications of the GPU and the CPU. So that is actually very rarely a problem. So that shouldn't be an issue. The one way that could happen is if you've kept your same computer and you've bought a more powerful graphics card. But it's not really a big issue if your performance is fine and your GPU utilization is low. It just means that your GPU is far more high powered than your CPU, and you could get much better performance in terms of FPS, frames per second, or load times and things like that if you did upgrade your CPU. So that would be the next upgrade you would want to do. But again, it's not really something that should be cause for concern unless you are having performance issues. So I've covered that in detail in this article here. Another couple of things I did was I did a survey of very experienced computer users and things, and asked, is full utilization of the GPU good? And the vast majority of people said yes, it is, about 93%. So of the 34 people that responded, 93% said yes, it's good, because that means you're basically using all of the GPU's capacity and your computer's running is the most efficient. But yes. And then, so what should your GPU usage be when idle? So ideally below about 30% or 50%. So yeah, as someone like I myself wasn't very much aware of how these things all interplay together, but it is important to know, especially if you're building your own computer or you wanted to upgrade various components and things like that. So yeah, it's a very important question to know the answer to. So that's basically the long and short of it. If you are wanting to match up, say you're creating your own computer, and you're wanting a gaming computer or a high-end computer, and you're putting it all together yourself, what you want to do is there's various large websites where they kind of recommend various full setups, and you can kind of match. So the CPU that you want to, all CPUs kind of, they range in price, and all GPUs range in price. So you want to look at those pre-built ones and kind of sort of match, or choose the exact ones they recommend, and kind of match those. And if you do that, the GPU and the CPU will be well matched. It can get a bit in the weeds to go fully into that, because the CPU manufacturers do put out processors that are newer or older, but a newer or older processor doesn't necessarily mean it's faster or slower. So to really get the answer to that, you would need to dig into really comprehensive data about sort of how they perform in terms of speed. There's a few good websites for that. Maybe I'll put that in here. Maybe I'll just find that for you real quick. There's one I found that sort of ranks all of the CPUs and all of the GPUs for performance. I'll just see if I linked it here somewhere, because it was really good. anyways, I'll find that and put it in the link to the description for this video. Cool, but that pretty much covers everything. So how to increase the GPU utilization. Yeah, so the only way really to increase it, which shouldn't really be necessary unless you are performing, unless it is struggling to perform to how you want it to, in terms of is it lagging or it's choppy and things like that, is to increase the CPU. But the other thing you would need to check also there's a few other steps you could take which could be causing it. You know, it might be your internet or something else like running in the background. You might have some viruses and stuff that are clogging the CPU, and you should go in and clear all those out. Make sure you don't have any background programs running that you don't need to, which can be taking up the CPU's capacity. So I would check those first because those are free and quite easy to do before upgrading your CPU. And also it has been, a lot of people have found that increasing the RAM performance does increase the speed of the CPU, which would have the knock-on effect of utilizing more of your GPU. That's more of a topic for another article. Another article which I put together about increasing RAM. So let me just find that one too for you. I'll put a link to that one about the RAM in the description as well. So that just goes over all of that. It's a little bit of a complicated topic as well. So I'll put a link to that in the description, which explains it. The long and short of it is, if you do have 2 sticks of RAM, I think it was either if you have 1 or 2. Let me just check here. Yeah, if your computer has 1 stick of RAM that's like 16 gigs, you can get a performance improvement by swapping that out for 2 sticks of RAM that are 8 gigs. In terms of the actual percentage changes, it is negligible. I would say that more applies to you if you're building a whole computer from scratch, where you have the option and it's good pricing. You'd want to opt to get more sticks of RAM rather than 1 stick of RAM. So if you want a total of 32 gigs of RAM, you'd want to get 2 16 or 4 8 if your motherboard can handle it. Or if you're wanting to have 16, you want to get 2 sticks of 8, or you could get 4 sticks of 4. Yeah, so that's all covered in that RAM article, and I'm pretty sure I have some examples there about what sort of performance increase you do get from doing that. If not, I will upgrade that shortly. But it's been a pleasure explaining how all that works in terms of the GPU usage percentage, and whether a low GPU usage percentage is good. And thanks very much for watching. If you would like some more content about creating a computer that is optimized to the max and gets you the best bang for buck, definitely subscribe. If you like the video, please leave a like, and yeah, it's been a pleasure, and maybe chat to you in the future. All right.